guys, and thank you for tuning in with me, your girl Zesty and the Zesty Pooh crew. So today we are making some fried shredded beef chimichangas. I'm gonna also make a homemade salsa and a white queso. Now, however, I must admit I'm a little leery about this white queso because I've never done it before in the history of Zesty Pooh's kitchen. Y'all, I'm gonna make it, and don't give me too much slack for you guys who are like good with making white queso. I can use some pointers. I'm over here, I'm crying out for help. So give me a break on this one, y'all. We're gonna get into this and we're gonna see how it goes. All right, let's go. Okay, so I have 2.5 pounds of chuck roast. Feel free to use whatever type of meat that you desire. And I'm just gonna chunk it. So to my cube chuck, I'm just gonna add a little salt and pepper. You don't want to put anything too crazy because it's going to have a lot of flavor. Let's put pepper. And just get this. Now, generally, I mix this overnight. And I have my ring on. Forgive me, guys. I have to take this ring off. So to this, I'm going to use a half of a large yellow onion. And I'm going to save the other half for later. I think what I'm going to do is use the larger part for the actual shredded beef. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to make a slurry for the beef to cook in. So you don't have to worry about chopping these onions up perfect because they're all going to go into the blender with my chiles. And to this, I am going to put half of that onion. Try not to get the steamy things. I'm going to put 1.5 tablespoons of Mexican oregano. I have here 1, 2, 3, 4. I have about 6 cloves of garlic. I'm going to put them in whole. I also have one of the guajillo chili pods. And I actually boiled a couple of them. But I don't think I'm going to use all of them because I tasted a little bit of it and it burned my tongue. So I think I'm just going to use a little bit of it. So I have probably one whole one. And then I'm going to take this chile. I do have a whole chile. And I did de-seed them before I boiled them. And if you have more seeds in there, you don't have to use them. You can kind of pick through it. And I don't want mine too spicy because, I have a 2-year-old here. And I also have probably about 1/4 cup of water that I'm going to add to the mix. And I'm also going to add some garlic powder, onion powder. So here's the onion powder. I'm going to probably put in about 1 teaspoon of it. And with my garlic powder, I'm probably going to put 1 teaspoon of this as well too. Just to give it that kick. I'm also going to add some thyme leaves. You can also add ground thyme. I'm going to probably put in about 1 teaspoon just because I like thyme. Now, I'm going to save the other spices for last, like the cumin. And I'm also going to use this other half of onion, some chili powder. I want that to be more fresh. I'm also going to add about 1 tablespoon of olive oil just to get it to break down a little bit. And I want to make sure that I can get my stuff ground up as much as possible. So what we're going to do is add about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And we're going to get it hot. And we're going to sear the beef on both sides. And we're just browning it. You're not cooking it. We're going to sear it on both sides for probably about 1.5 minutes. Okay, I believe our pan is hot enough. Got a smoke coming from it. And you just want to sear them on both sides. I'm going to say 1 to 2 minutes. All right, let's turn them and see what they're looking like. Yeah, that's that nice little crush you want to see. And what that does is it locks in your flavor. A lot of people say, well, why you can't just throw it in there? You can, but what happens is when you do this, it locks in that flavor. It's kind of like cooking a steak. When you cook a steak, the method to cooking a steak is to lock that flavor in and form that little crust on there. And so that way it's bursting with flavor whenever you do get in there. Okay, so now that we have that good sear on both sides, that mix that we had earlier, I'm just gonna pour it right in over our meat. Don't be scared to get your hands dirty. I'm keeping one hand clean for the other ingredients. So to this, I have a large thing of beef broth, which is 48 ounces. The main thing is you want it to cover the meat. I may not have to use this whole thing, but I want my meat covered. You don't want to see any meat poking out to that. Okay. So I believe that's enough. So I use most of it. I probably have about 2 cups left, and that's okay. We'll use it for something else. So I also have some bay leaves that I bought in a jar because I got tired of the bay leaves going bad. And I think these are just pretty much dehydrated bay leaves. And it'll come alive once you start cooking it. Don't forget to take your bay leaves out. So I just put 2 in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it. I'm going to cover this bad boy for 2.5 hours. And then I'm going to come back and check on it. All right. So I'm making my homemade salsa. And to this, I have 1 seeded jalapeno. If you like it hot, keep the seeds. I like it a little kick, but those seeds just sets it off, and I can't do it. I can probably do cooked jalapeno, but not the raw ones. So what I'm gonna do is give it a nice little chop. All this is gonna be blended up. But the thing about cutting it down is you want to make sure it's cut down enough to blend up. If not, you'll have chunky pieces of your jalapeno, and that's not gonna be appealing. And I also have a bushel of cilantro. I'm going to do a juice of 1 lime. And I have 4 ramano tomatoes. And I also bought some tomatoes with mild green chilies. So this is my first time using this, so I'm going to try it out. I'm also going to put about a tablespoon of cumin. I also have about 4 cloves of garlic. I don't know where I got tablespoons. Y'all do not put 4 tablespoons of garlic in your fresh salsa. That would be horrible. There's that lime going in. And I'm going to add a tablespoon of cumin. I'm also going to put a half of a red onion. And I just like to break mine down a bit so that way what doesn't get blended up doesn't turn out to be like a chunk of something. And break it down a little bit more. Lastly, I add a teaspoon of sugar to mine. That's just to offset some of that acidity and that tartness from the onions, garlic, and the lime. Okay, here's your salsa. And it's best when you, like me, I like mine to set. And then I put it in the refrigerator. And then we'll put it all together later. But for right now, this is going in the refrigerator, y'all. It looks good. It's chunky. Smells garlicky. Might be able to just transfer the meat. And then get a cup of that liquid. If not, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to strain the meat. And then I'm gonna probably have to strain it out in here. And you want to make sure you use a strainer because you do not want any leftover seeds or anything of that nature in there. So to the beef side, here is the cup of reserved liquid that I reserved. And I want to show you guys what you would have been taking if you wouldn't have strained it. This is why it's important to strain. See all that gook? You really don't need that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to shred the beef until I get it down to the pieces that I want. And honestly, my best friend is 2 forks. So altogether, I probably cooked this about 3.5 hours. The last hour I did turn it up to 375. If you have a crock pot, I would say for 2.5 pounds, you probably want to put it on high for 4.5 hours, or you can put it on low for 6.5 hours, 6.5 hours. And you know, every 2-3 hours, I like to check mine just to see where I'm at. Because honestly, when you're shredding beef, it doesn't seem like you can really overcook it. But you can definitely undercook it. So you want to make sure it's tender enough to be able to shred like this. All right, so now we got all our beef shredded. We're going to finish the rest of the product. So let's go over to the stove. So to my pan, I've added about a tablespoon and a half of oil, olive oil. And I'm going to put the other half of that onion that we saved from earlier. So it's just a half of a yellow onion. And we're going to save the rest of this for our queso. Also to this, I'm going to put about a teaspoon of garlic, fresh garlic, maybe about a teaspoon and a half. Also, here's where the love comes in. Here is where I'm going to put some chili powder. And you just want to give it a little pinch. I'm also going to add a half can of diced green chilies. I'm going to save the other half for our queso. I'm also going to add in a little bit of thyme, some thyme leaves. And I'm going to say probably about a half a teaspoon. I'm also going to add in garlic powder. I'm going to say about a good teaspoon of garlic powder. Maybe about a teaspoon and a half, just because I like garlic powder. Make sure you saute this really good. I'm also going to hit it with a little bit of salt, maybe about a half teaspoon of salt. And here is where I'm going to add that cup of reserved liquid that I saved from earlier. Oh yeah. Now I'm going to just put in our shredded beef. And I'm just going to let this simmer down for about 15 minutes. Oh man, it smells so good. Oh, and I'm going to hit it with a little bit of cumin, maybe about a half teaspoon of cumin. So now what I want is, I want a 1.5 cup of Kobe and Monterey Jack and 1.5 cup of pepper jack. And as you can see, it's Tilbrook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put it in my food processor. And if you have a grater or however you do it, use the fresh cheese. And the reason why is because I just found this out myself, that the cheese that comes in the bag has some sort of sealant on it that doesn't allow the cheese to melt the way it should melt. So if you can, try to use the block cheese. You'll have better results, I promise you. Okay, you want to start out your queso on a medium low heat. You do not want to burn your milk when we get to that step, okay? We're gonna start out low and slow. And the whole objective to this is stirring. You're gonna stir, stir, stir until you get to the desired consistency that you're looking for. So let's get it started. So I've added 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm just gonna let it melt. And be patient with your queso. Be very patient. It'll be worth it. Now I'm just gonna add about a teaspoon of minced garlic. I'm also gonna add a half of a yellow onion. That's right, I'm gonna have onions in this. I got some other goodies coming along with this whole treat. This queso is gonna be banging, y'all. So we wanna let this get smooth. Well, not smooth, sauteed. Wanna let it get sauteed because you don't want crunchy onions in your queso. That will not be appealing. Now I do have some chilies from the last, from the beef. I only use half of it. So to this, I'm gonna add the other half can of chilies. And it's okay if it's a little juice in there. It's not gonna hurt anything. So I have mine on a 3. So now you want to add 8 ounces of cream cheese. And you're just gonna let this melt. You're gonna stir it until it melts. And again, it's a slow process, but you just gotta take your time. It will be worth it in the end. And you just wanna take your time. I break mine up. Feel free, you can cube it up before you put it in here. It really doesn't matter, it's gonna melt down. And also, I'm gonna add in a half a cup of milk. All together, we're just gonna see the consistency that we want it. I'm gonna start out with a half a cup of milk. And we're just gonna pour that in. This is why you need to keep it on a medium-low heat, because otherwise you're gonna scorch your milk and you're gonna have to start all over, and all that hard work you put in is gonna go to waste. Or you don't wanna curd the milk, and it just can be a mess. So it's starting to get thick. I'm gonna add another cup of milk, and we should be done with our milk content, because then we're gonna start adding in that pepper jack and that Monterey Jack cheese that we have shredded. And even though I have it on a medium-low heat, it can still crank up and get hot. But see, when you pour in that cold milk, it'll stop the process of that other milk from going too fast. So see, we're starting to get that creamy texture we're looking for. Okay, so now we're at the point where we can start adding in our cheese. And you don't want to add it all in at one time. I'm going to add in about a cup at a time. Now here, this is the Monterey Jack. And this is just a cup. Remember I told you earlier it's going to be a cup and a half. So now I'm going to add in some of that Cumin Jack. I'm just going to add in a cup first. I'm going to let it get in there and melt. And that silkiness is coming on through, y'all. It's coming through. So see, look at that velvety, creamy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a half of can of rotel in it. And I always like to add the rotel last, because if not, the tomatoes, they're already like fire roasted or however they make it. What'll happen is the tomatoes will get way too mushy. So I like to add the rotel in last. Also, I'm going to add a half a pack of taco seasoning mix, just to give it that flavor, that little kick. Because cheese is very bland. And you want to make sure you get it in there, because you don't want any lumps of that taco seasoning. It'll disintegrate, but you make sure you continue to stir it low and slow until all your ingredients are really, really incorporated. I'm also going to put some garlic powder in here. About a teaspoon and a half for me. Y'all, this smells so good. I can't wait to taste it. So yeah, this is a lot of work, and nothing beats throwing everything in a crock pot, and I still do it. I'm not saying I don't, but I did want to try this, and we're going to see how good this is. I am excited about it. So there's only one real way to really know how this is going to taste, and I think I'm going to give it a taste test. Hey, ain't nobody in here anyway. Nobody but me and you, my little Zesty Poo crew. Oh man, that's banging, y'all. Oh, that's banging. I need some spice though. I'm gonna put a little bit of cayenne, just a pinch. And I'm also gonna put a little pinch of cumin, just a pinch though. Like literally just a pinch. I'm gonna put some paprika for color. Now I'm just playing with it, cause it's done. I'm gonna use chili powder instead. All right, now let's get the star of the show. Let's get these bad boys rolled up. So what I'm gonna do first is get my tortilla out. And I use the low carb. These are the low carb balance. You can find these at any Walmart, most Walmart. So what I've done is I have laid down, ooh, this beef is hot. What I've done is I've laid down some Monterey and Cumin Jack. I might not be saying it right. I think I've been butchering the cheese name. And then I have more. And I had to put some in this little bowl because I didn't want to bring the whole pot over here. And earlier, what I was trying to say when I was making the queso, the cheeses that I used were Monterey Jack. See, I'm doing it again. Pepper Jack, and then Colby and Monterey Jack. So I was probably intertwining the two. So anyway, I have Colby and Jack down, and now I'm putting Pepper Jack on the top. And I have another one over here because I'm making two. And you don't want to overstuff these because the last thing you want is for them to break. So I just want to show you my whole little process. It looked like a lot, but it's really not. And again, let's get it popping. Move that cheese up there. And then this part, I just like to take my time to be right. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Fold the bad boy. Ooh, baby. Yeah. Here we go. And I'm just stuffing the cheese in there because I don't want that to leak out into my oil. Because sometimes the flap will separate a little bit. And I just want to make sure. And when you fry it, and I'm going to show you how when we get over to the fry. All right, so I'm going to put them in there. Our oil is hot enough. And how you can tell is by seeing the little bubbles. See the little bubbles? That's how you can tell it's hot enough. So here we go. Flap side down. And I have just on a medium. And I'm flipping them because I don't want it to burn. Because they will burn quick. So what I usually do is lay it up against the side to keep that flap closed. Put a little pressure on it so that way that other side can get done. Then I'm going to flip it back over so you can ease it up against there. So I flipped it back over. And then you just want to flip it on the sides as well. Want to make sure you get the sides good and crispy. And what you can do is just prop it up against the side of the pan. You see how that flap is coming open? Had I had left cheese down in here, it probably would have leaked out. There we go. That's that crust we're looking for on this side. Okay, so this one is a little bit more done. That's how I like mine all the way around. Look at that bad boy. And then this one, I'm just going to let it stay in a little bit longer. And then we can already plate these bad boys, y'all. We can already eat. I don't know if y'all can tell, but I have like a little avalanche of cheese. That's because I topped it with some jalapeno jalapeno peppers, and they are pickled. These are bomb.com. We wanted some spice with ours. So I'm going to put some sour cream. Oh, yeah. This is going to be bomb. And then I'm going to add these two bad boys. Check it out. Check it out. All right, so as always, Zesty Pooh crew, and those of you who are new to my channel, I always like to encourage all of my viewers, all of the Zesty Pooh crew, to continue to love out loud. And that just simply means that in spite of what you might be facing in life, continue to take care of yourself, continue to take care of those around you, continue to pray for everybody in your circle, including yourself. And, you know, like I said, just love out loud. And if you want to see more of what I have to give, just do us 3 favors. Hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell. And with always, I always like to leave my viewers with a little something to grow on. And I'm going to read this quote. And until next time, I love each and every one of you, wherever you may be out there in the digisphere, whether it be morning, noon, night. It doesn't matter what time it is. I love you the same way, and I wish you well. And basically what I have found, it says that I have the ability to overcome any challenge life gives me. And I got this from one of the 50 self-loving affirmations. So with that being said, guys, y'all have a wonderful evening. I enjoy meeting with you each and every time. I just wanted to get some more of that plate. And I love y'all. I'm going to break this burrito on our way out. Check it out. Listen to that crunch. Ooh. Yes, 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 yes. Ooh, wee. Look at that. Yes. I'm going to do a stretch game. Boom. Bow. Okay. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Y'all take care. I love